Good day and welcome back to Royal News Daily, where even a polite smile can trigger a constitutional eyebrow raise. Now imagine this scene. The palace doors open, the chandeliers glow, and in walks Queen Margrethe. Except this time, she is not the reigning monarch. She is the former queen, returning to the palace she ruled for decades, now as a guest. If that does not sound emotionally complex, you have never watched a former prime minister sit quietly behind their successor. The body language alone tells a story. Before we read that story, subscribe to Royal News Daily and click the notifications bell so you never miss the moments that matter after the cameras stop rolling. Now, let's talk about that return. Queen Margrethe's presence at the New Year Gala was historic, symbolic, and undeniably awkward. Not because anyone misbehaved, but because abdication changes everything. One day, you're the center of the institution. The next, you're part of the backdrop. For a monarch who defined an era, that shift is enormous. And the discomfort, subtle as it was, did not go unnoticed. Here is the first thing to understand. Margrethe's abdication was sudden by royal standards. Carefully planned, yes, but emotionally abrupt. She stepped aside while still very much associated with authority, tradition, and public trust. Returning to the palace as a supporting figure rather than the anchor was always going to be a psychological adjustment. In Australian terms, think of a long-serving leader handing over power mid-cycle and then attending the next national address from the second row. Now, let us transition, because symbolism matters more than words here. Seating arrangements, procession order, and conversational dynamics all signaled a new hierarchy. Margrethe was respected, honored, and visible, yet no longer central. That balance is delicate. Too much prominence undermines the new king. Too little looks dismissive. Walking that line is one of the hardest tasks in institutional leadership. Observers noted Margrethe's reserved expressions and limited engagement with the spotlight. This was not bitterness. It was restraint, a conscious effort not to overshadow King Frederik's reign. That takes discipline. It also takes acceptance. And acceptance is rarely instantaneous. From a political perspective, this moment was textbook transition management. Former leaders must fade without disappearing. They must support without steering. Margrethe's presence reassured the public that continuity remained intact, while her restraint reinforced that authority had genuinely shifted. It was a masterclass in knowing when to step back, even when the stage still feels familiar. Now, let us talk about the public reaction. Many viewers read discomfort where others saw dignity. That divide says more about audience expectations than royal reality. We expect former leaders to vanish gracefully, forgetting that they are human. Margrethe did not vanish. She recalibrated. And recalibration is rarely comfortable. In Australia, debates about monarchy often hinge on moments like this. They expose the human side of institutions we treat as permanent. Watching a former queen navigate a new role reminds the public that power transitions are not just constitutional events. They are personal. There's also a strategic angle. Margrethe's visible support for Frederik, without overt involvement, strengthened his legitimacy. It signaled endorsement without interference. That is the political equivalent of a former leader publicly backing a successor while resisting the urge to offer running commentary. So why did she look uncomfortable? Because change, even chosen change, carries emotional weight. Because stepping aside does not erase decades of responsibility overnight. And because restraint, while admirable, is rarely effortless. This was not a sign of crisis. It was a moment of truth. A former monarch learning to occupy a different space, and doing so under the brightest lights imaginable. Thank you for watching Royal News Daily.